Welcome to Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel. Hello, 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 gorgeous beings. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel, where we share stories of hope, inspiration, and determination from breast cancer survivors so that we can let women who find themselves on a breast cancer journey know that not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before. I am your host, D. Manuel Cloud. I am a breast cancer recovery strategist, an author, and an international speaker. And I created this channel simply because I know what it's like to be going through that journey and looking for hope and inspiration from ladies who have already completed the journey. And today, I have with me the amazing Watchen Marshall. Watchen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Watchen, one of the things I always like to ask women when we get on these episodes is the age and type of diagnosis. And I like to ask that question because I think that it helps our sisters watching become more related to us.
Yes. So when I was diagnosed, I was 33 years old. And the type of diagnosis that I had was invasive ductal carcinoma. So there are different types of invasive ductal carcinoma, but the kind that I was diagnosed with what is ER/PR positive, which is hormone receptor positive, meaning that cancer feeds off of estrogen and hormones in order to grow.
Wow. Okay. We have that in common. I was in ductal carcinoma as well. Mine was HER2 negative. So it didn't feed off of estrogen. And I didn't have any lymph nodes impacted either. Did you have any lymph nodes affected?
I did. I had a very, I think she called it microscopic amount in lymph nodes. So I did do a lymph node dissection and they found that I did have a very tiny amount of lymph node involvement.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And share with us the treatment plan that your medical team laid out.
Yes. So I'll say this is like one of the most, I think, difficult parts of the journey initially was figuring out my treatment plan. So I got diagnosed initially. My doctor, after they did the all the testing and everything, they recommended that I go to surgery first to do that. And then after I went to surgery to have a lumpectomy, which is where they remove the tumor from your breast, I had the decision to make as to whether to do chemotherapy, which was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life. I mean, I was scared. I was, going back and forth with my husband, my mom, just trying to figure out, like, do I really want to do this? Because my doctor had mentioned something called an oncotype score. So I did the oncotype test, which is essentially a test that they run with different genes on your tumor. They run different tests just to see what your risk of recurrence might be. And so I came out at a 17, I believe, on that level. And I think if you are at I want to say 15, it's been so long. I've tried to put all this behind me, but if you're at like a 15, then you're kind of on the lower end. 17 is kind of like, you could do chemo, but you may not need to because your risk of wherever your risk of recurrence falls is kind of on the lower end still. And so my doctor gave me the opportunity to really make a decision. She's like, you could go either way. If for your peace of mind, you want to do chemo, you can go ahead and do it. A lot of women choose to do it. And she also said that the toxicity, you have to keep in mind the factors, the side effects, the toxicity, all of the things. And so I was just a wreck, at that time. I was just going back and forth. Should I do this? Do I want to do this? I was honestly really scared. I had joined a bunch of Facebook groups and had heard about the side effects and all the things. And I'm like, prayed about it, of course. And the got a second opinion at the Mayo Clinic. The thing that gave me the most peace was to decide to not do it. I was like, I'm going to trust God. I'm going to, eat healthy. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to start juicing. I'm going to do a whole lifestyle change in order to support this decision, because I truly felt like I was at peace with not doing it. Not doing it would have gave me more peace than if I would have done it. So so I had to make that really brave decision to forego chemo. But I did have to do, since I had a lumpectomy, I had to do 25 rounds of radiation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that you opted to not do chemotherapy. And I love that you shared that there was testing where they could determine your risk factor with regard to whether or not your risk of recurrence, right?
Yeah.
And I hope that for women who are watching, they know that they have options, right? And like Watchen shared, make a powerful choice. Like, make the choice that's going to bring you the most peace. I love that. I love that. Okay, so you've gone through treatment, you've gotten your lumpectomy, you've gotten your radiation, you've opted to forego chemotherapy, which I do think is brave. You go, girl. Because they scare the mess out of us with this, with the
They do. They really do. But that's another thing I want to add to, D, is getting a second opinion. Because when I went to the Mayo Clinic to get a second opinion, that kind of swayed my decision as well. So I felt like I was making a more informed decision, because the doctors at the Mayo said the exact same thing. They were like, I have women who are in the same, have the same test results and things as you, and have foregone chemo, and they're doing amazing 10, 20 years later. It can go, it's really a personal decision, is what they're telling me. So I got a second opinion. I recommend everybody always get a second opinion, because that can help you to make the best decision for yourself.
Love that.
Yeah, if you get opinions for other things from multiple people, when it comes to your health, it's a no-brainer. Get a second opinion. Go see a different doctor outside of your network to just get their expertise on what might be the best decision, best treatment plan for you.
I love that. Getting a second opinion. I believe that not many of us do enough of that. Honestly, we just kind of, because they put you on this breast cancer train, and that train takes off, and we're standing around wondering
what just happened.
Yes. So I love that you slowed the train down and was like, you know what, let me get a second opinion. Let me weigh my options here. And then you, like you said, chose the option that gave you the most peace. So when it comes to post breast cancer, what do you think has been your biggest challenge?
Post breast cancer, my biggest challenge, I will say, has been anxiety. Anxiety, for sure. I don't think we talk enough in the breast cancer space, or cancer in general, about anxiety and the fear of recurrence, and how it can really this is like I try not to describe it in this way, because it sounds so horrible, and I don't feel like this anymore. But initially, after I had my surgery, after I had radiation, I likened being a breast cancer survivor to someone holding a gun to your back, and you're just waiting for the trigger to go off. That's how I felt at that time. And I know it sounds really, dark, but that's how I felt. It just felt like at any moment, what's going to happen, at any moment. I don't feel like that anymore, but those were my feelings, because I was just, the anxiety and fear of reoccurrence is so real. Not to mention, you have people around you that are still, that are in the fight, that are going through it. You hear announcements every day about something. There's so much that you have to carry with you, not just being a regular, everyday woman, but then you also have this kind of thing lingering over you, it feels like, and it's an added stressor. And so anxiety, definitely, fear was the thing that I had to learn to kind of reel in and grapple with the most. It's just dealing with those thoughts. And luckily now I have a system or a way to kind of combat those things. But initially that was hard. It was really, really hard to get past and get over fear.
So tell us about the system. Tell us about how you were able to transform the anxiety and the fear.
Yes. So I have been learning a couple of different methods, but I would be, if I didn't talk about, my relationship with God and prayer, that has been the thing that has really, really, really helped me to get through it. Like there, there would be no other way. There's only so many, breathing exercises you can do, and working out, and doing all the things that are physically good for your body. But faith and prayer have been my like saving grace. Um, I have learned to speak back to my fear. So anytime
Mm,
I have a negative thought, or I hear something or see something, I'll either quote, like one of my favorite scriptures about life and prosperity and what I know God has for me, or I'll just shut it down, like not today. No, God has a plan for me. I feel I have, and I've always felt, um, ever since I was diagnosed, that this came to like change me, to change my life for the better. I never looked at it as, why is this happening to me? Or I just have never been in that space. And I credit my mom, who recently passed away earlier this year, because she always taught me to look for the empowerment in the situation. And she
mhm.
was so not a victim. Like she didn't subscribe to a victim mentality. Anything she ever went through, even when she was, sick, she kept pushing through. She never wanted anybody to look at her as a victim. She was always like, keep going, keep going.
Yeah,
She was just so strong. And I think I credit her for that. And so I've always, always, always seen this as an opportunity for change and growth. So
I
how
love
can I
it.
learn from this experience that's going to make my life better, that I can move forward with? That's been the lens that I've taken, that I think has really, really helped for getting over the fear. And the second thing I would say in working through the fear is just that I have built kind of like a healthy routine. So instead of me focusing on fear, I'm focusing on healing. Like every day, I'm doing different things to kind of um, make sure that I'm, on this health journey, I'm being consistent. So I have like a little routine of, cancer fighting foods that I eat every day. I, do a big anti-cancer salad. I'm juicing daily. I am taking walks, getting out in sunlight, like the very simple things that we take for granted. My
Yeah,
lifestyle is built around those things. So instead of me focusing on, what's going to happen in the future, it's uncertain. I really just focus on healing. I focus on the things that I'm doing every day to make sure that I'm on track, to make sure that I'm just supporting my body and healing. And I
I
think that
love
makes
that. I love that. So I heard you say that you don't focus on whether or not the cancer is going to return. You don't focus on sickness and disease. You focus on healing. I
yeah,
also heard you say that you speak back to your fear to shut it down. Like, oh, nope, not today.
not
That you
today.
leaned on your faith and that. And so, and listen, I knew God was going to come into this conversation eventually, right? That has been the theme of every interview that I've done.
Yeah,
I'm never the one to bring it up first. Ladies, the message here is lean into your faith, lean into your higher power, whether you call it God, the source, the spirit, the creator, the universe, whatever you call it, lean into your faith and know that I call it God. God wants the best for you, right?
absolutely.
And so I love everything that you shared. And your mom sounds like she was an amazing woman, right? I love that she always looked for the lesson in the journey instead of having a victim mentality. She sounds like she was extremely powerful. I love that for you. And now you have a powerful angel watching over you. I love that for you too. So one of the things you said is your mom always looked for the empowerment in the situation, the lesson in the journey. So tell me about your lesson in this journey.
Ooh, there's so many lessons in this journey. I think my biggest lesson in this journey, honestly, is your health is your number one priority. After God, of course, you have to take care of the body that God gave you. I think so often, especially if you're not dealing with, a chronic illness or disease, we take our health for granted a lot.
Absolutely.
We do. We
Absolutely.
put a lot of things into our body that's just, toxic, that we, to our own, in our defense, that we're not even aware of, because we live in a toxic world. And so
Absolutely.
taking care of our health has, particularly also for Black women, because we're doing so much, we're doing everything for everybody. We are ambitious, we are overachievers, we are amazing. It's so funny because I was talking to just different friends as of recently, and each of them were saying they were stressed out by work. Like work was stressing them out to the point where, like we're having panic attacks, and they're
Oh,
crying, like really bad stress. We just allow life to stress us out. We don't have good stress management tools, and I think that I've learned that it's just so important to self-care. Take care of yourself, set those boundaries. You and I were just talking, you gave me a little pep talk before we jumped on the call this morning about, saying no, like saying no. You don't have to do everything. Learning to physically exercise, walking is something that I've been doing and loving. I'm going to be sad when it starts to, I'm in Minnesota, so when it starts to snow, I won't be able to take my walks anymore. But, just those simple things that we should be doing every day to prioritize our health kind of get lost in the shuffle of us living life. And some of us are taking care of kids and, have stressful jobs. Like you have to put yourself, if you're not putting yourself first and being well, like there's nothing else. Everything flows from that. So there's nothing
everything
else.
flows from that. I
Everything flows
love
from
that.
that. You
I
cannot
love
walk
that.
in your purpose and do all the things if you're not well. Like if you don't have the energy, if you're constantly dealing with sickness and all of the things. So up front, if you are a person who hasn't um, dealt with any sort of chronic illness or anything, put your health first. Start doing things that are going to be beneficial for your body. Create a routine around being healthy, because I heard a saying that said, what is it? When you are not healthy, I'm trying to think. Don't get me to making up the wrong quote, but it said something to the effect of when you're healthy, you have a million other problems, but when you're not healthy and you're dealing with a sickness or disease, you only got one problem.
You only
And
got one.
you only have one
You only
problem.
got one.
Everything else is on the back burner. You have to focus on that one issue, and it takes over your life. So
I love it. I always say one of the things that I'm always quoting is it's easier to live a healthy lifestyle than it is to manage sickness, right?
absolutely,
So get ahead of it now. Create healthy routines for yourself now, right?
yes,
And I'm not somebody who believes in a teetotal lifestyle. Like I believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life.
yeah,
And what I found is the more I take care of myself, the better I feel. So the
yes.
better my quality of life is, right? So I love that you spoke to that. Thank you for that lesson. And I'm hoping that our listeners and our watchers are taking that nugget too, to create a healthy lifestyle for yourself so that you don't have to manage sickness and that you can create a healthy lifestyle for yourself. Nice, small, sustainable changes, right? Like, doesn't have to be crazy. It's like Watchen said, it's usually the things that we take for granted. I'm always teasing my wife, like, don't park in the handicap spot. We lucky we got legs. We can walk. Like, let's right? Like just the things that we take for granted. So tell me, Watching, what it means to you to thrive and how that shows up in your life.
I love that question. What does it mean to me to thrive? For me, to thrive is to just be walking in your purpose. This for me, this I feel like being diagnosed with breast cancer 3 years ago gave me a sense of like a new outlook on life. Like life is about living out your purpose. It's about being intentional. When you go through this journey, you realize that you kind of are faced with your own, I don't want to say mortality, but you know that there's
Mhm.
we all have a limited time on this earth, whether it's, whether you go through something like breast cancer or whether it's anything, we never know um, when the time is. So it's not about, and this is another quote. I love a good quote. If you can't tell,
Same.
someone said it's not about it's not about the years um, you have to live. It's about the life in your years. So
Life
whatever
in your
the
years.
life in your
Yes.
years. So whether, you have whatever amount of time you have, it's how are you living? How are you prioritizing joy, which is something that I love to travel. So I, prioritize joy that way. But thriving is just living in joy. It's living a peaceful life, like being at peace, not, being tormented by fear and, living in fear and stress and overwhelm, which is something, overwhelm is something that I'm still working through. But it's really, really about living in your purpose. It's really thriving, living in your God-given purpose, and making sure that you are well, healthy, prioritizing you. And I feel like when you do that, you have no choice but to thrive because you're taking care of
Absolutely.
yourself, and that's
Absolutely.
not just physically, it's mentally, emotionally. So thriving to me goes hand in hand with purpose.
I love that. One of the things that you shared that I want to touch on, one of my favorite speakers, Priscilla Shire, says, she
Mm,
says, no matter how old you are, what matters most is your expiration date. And we all have one, right? We all have an expiration date. And so if you think that because you're 15 or 16, you're thinking you're really young and you have all this time to get, to make a difference in the world, because you can make a difference in the world at 15 and 16. It doesn't have to wait until you're 55, right? But if your expiration date, if you're 15 and 16, your expiration date is 21, then you're pretty old, right? But if you're 55 and your expiration date is not until you're 110, then you're pretty young.
mhm.
So the lesson is to strive to make a difference in your life every day and not
Yes.
wait until you reach a certain age, because we don't know when that expiration date is. So she
Exactly.
said that, and I thought that was very profound. I was like, you know what? I never thought about it that way. Nobody thinks about the expiration date. Right? We're just out here living. And to your
Yeah.
point, some of us are not even doing that very well. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're stressed out, we're overwhelmed, we're overweight, we are dealing with chronic diseases, all because we're not taking care of ourselves. And that's something we have control over,
We
right?
absolutely do. We absolutely do.
So tell me, Miss Watchen, what you're up to now.
Yes. Whew, what am I up to? That's such a loaded question. I have a lot going on. So I work full time. So I have a full time position. I work in I have a contracting kind of consultant position with my local government, um, which I've been at for about 14 years now. So that's day job work. I am a part of an initiative called In Sisterhood We Brunch, where we put on quarterly brunches. I do grant writing and kind of sponsorship, community relationship building, and for that organization. And I'm in the process of writing a book, which is, it's a process. I've had so much go on in the past 3, 4 years. I'm like, you know what? I have a story to tell. I have
Amen.
some things that I've overcome, some things that I've worked through. I really want to talk about, my journey, what I've learned, um, and just encourage women to be healthy and put their health first. Um,
Yes.
so that's another thing that I'm working on. I'm also working on a program to help women kind of learn to prioritize their self care, women who are survivors of breast cancer, I should say. Because I think that, just as we were talking about earlier, self care is so important. And when I say self care, I don't mean just, the spas and the facials and going to getting your nails and hair done. Like, those things are important because when you look good, you feel good. But I am really, really intentional. And I really, really think it's so important, especially as women of color, to take care of ourselves, to make ourselves our first priority, and just build a self-care routine, especially after breast cancer, that really serves us. So the program that I'm working on is, how do I, first of all, build community around like self-care and self-care tips, but also how do I help women, talk to women about building routines that really serve them. In a couple of groups that I'm in, a lot of the women talk about, they just don't have time to prioritize themselves. They have kids, they have a lot going on, they're dealing with anxiety and fear, and it's hard to move past that to even get to that place where you can like build a healthy routine because they're so overwhelmed. So the program I'm putting together is based around working with women to kind of help them work through that. How do I navigate that? What are some of the things that, I've done that have been successful to help move past that fear and build a healthy routine and focus on the healing, So one of the things I've always done as well is just trying not to use fighting words when it comes to my journey. Like, I am not fighting a battle. I am not at war with cancer. I'm healing. I'm healing from cancer. So that is kind of what I've been up to. I've got a lot going on, but
Yes, you got a lot on your plate, honey.
On my plate. But I'm excited about this program. I think it's much needed. I haven't seen anything out there, that really focuses on self-care and in all aspects, the really intentional self-care, mentally, physically, spiritually. So
I love it.
excited about.
I love it. I agree with you. I think it's so needed, especially for Black women. No slight against any of my sisters of other ethnicities. Um, I know that for Black women, so many of us are struggling with anxiety, with stress, with overwhelm, and with self-worth, right? Society has told us for so long that we're not beautiful, we're not special, we're not enough, right? And so I think that what you're doing for breast cancer survivors, and especially Black breast cancer survivors, is really powerful. So thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it is so needed in the world. So you go, girl. All right. So tell us how listeners can follow you or get in touch with you if they want to hear more about your program.
So you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is _Watchen, so WATCHEN. Email is always good. I'm at Watchen, WATCHEN, MMARIE@gmail.com. So I also have a Facebook group, Sustainable Self-Care for Breast Cancer Survivors. So that's a good place to start. Join the group. I'll be posting just different tips and building community around self-care, because one of the things that I've also learned on this journey is that we can learn so much from each other. Like, a lot of the things that I've learned have been from my peers. And when I say my peers, I mean other women, other people who are cancer survivors, who are long-term cancer survivors, that have built routines, that have, gone through the things, and they just have a knowledge that not only do they know, what the journey is like, but they've been putting things into practice for such a long time and it's worked for them. And so I really want to build community around sharing those tips and just helping women to connect with other women who are going through the same things that they're going through.
I love it. So there you have it, ladies. You can follow Watchen on Instagram at _Watchen, WATCHEN. Is that right? _Watchen. Tell us the email address one more time.
Watchen, WATCHEN, MMARIE@gmail.com.
Got it. All right. So thank you, ladies, so much for tuning in to another episode of Thriving on Purpose, the YouTube channel. Watchen, thank you so much for being willing to share your story with us. I found it so inspirational, so powerful. And I hope that those watching get hope and inspiration from the things that you shared too, to know that not only can life be good after breast cancer, but it can be better than ever before. So we're going to get on out of here for now. Join us. If you like what you've seen today or like what you've heard, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Turn your notifications on so you can be notified when we drop a new episode. And don't forget to like this one. So like, comment, subscribe. We appreciate you. Remember, we love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And we're thriving on purpose. Bye for now. For more inspirational stories like these, please like, comment, and subscribe. And remember to turn on your notifications. Thank you for rocking with us. And remember, we're thriving on purpose.